Following the chemical attack in Syria earlier this week, Israeli officials are now asking themselves, where do we draw the line? Joining me now to try to answer this question is former head of Israeli Air Force Intelligence, Brigadier General Shmueli, and senior research associate with the Institute for National Security Studies, Brigadier General Shlomo Brom. Thank you both for coming in. So my first question, General Brom, do you think that this attack had anything to do, the Iranian airbase, the attack on the Iranian airbase, does that have anything to do with the chemical attack a few days ago?
I think it has nothing to do with the chemical attack. It's only a coincidence that it happened a few days after the chemical attack.
But do you think that that influences Israeli policy at all, seeing these attacks occur so close to, right on the northern border, essentially?
Since the civil war started in Syria, Israel had a very consistent policy of not interfering in the civil war. And I think that this was a very successful policy. It brought about many achievements to Israel in Syria. And Israel has no reason to change its policies, and I don't think that it's going to change it.
So let's talk about those policies, General Shmueli. What are Israel's red lines, as they're called?
Israel Red Lines was published many years ago. It's first about the smuggling of strategic weapon to Hezbollah, and secondly, building infrastructure, Iranian infrastructure inside Syria. And those red lines doesn't have any connection with the chemical attack. And if we want to remember the history, first time when Obama regime realized that they got chemical attacks, they could have hit all the targets in advance and by surprise, but instead they decided to have a deal. In this deal between Obama regime and Assad regime, they destroyed all the weapons, but not all of this. We can see that they hide some of those. Secondly, the Trump regime, when they was published that there was a chemical attack a year or a year and a half ago, he launched a couple of cruise missiles to one of the base to sign Assad that this is a red line for him. But go back to Israel red lines. We are not part of the civil war in Syria. We have our own red lines. We are taking care of our own security. Smuggling a strategic weapon to Hezbollah is a red line, and Iranian infrastructure in Syria. And probably Israel haven't admitted that there was a strike in Syria, but if it was Israel, probably it doesn't have any connection to the chemical. But I don't know.
Well, okay, so
my assumption.
So what we do know, however, is that Russia and Iran and Turkey are all working together with the with the Assad regime. So how much do you think they knew? Did Russia know that Israel was going to attack an airbase, do you think? I mean, they've known in the past. We've coordinated with them in the past.
As I said, we haven't admitted that we attack in Syria, so I can't say that there was an attack. Nevertheless, we have a deconflictions agreement with the Russians. We don't tell them ahead of time when we are going to attack. So we are very much with the Russians to make deconflictions, not to make us fight them and they fight us. But we don't get their approval to react according to our red lines. This is our policy.
Okay. Shlomo Brom, I just want to ask this final question. Unfortunately, we're almost out of time. Do you think Israel should adjust these red lines in the future to include chemical attacks or attacks in the Syrian civil war, or do you think we should continue this non-engagement policy?
I think we should continue this non-engagement policy because, for example, if we will interfere in the civil war, that puts us on a track of collision with Russia. Russia is the patron of the current regime, and if we will operate against the regime, that will be against the interest of Russia. And we have no reason to have such a collision with Russia.
All right, Brigadier General Brom and Shmueli, thank you both for coming in today.